Hey, it's Mark Schultz here with Digital Aircraft, and today I'm going to bring to you a bit of a conversation about engine MROs. And the question is that why is it so complex, and what is the role of software or digital in production control? And also, we're going to have a bit of a conversation about how do you maximize revenue, reduce cost, and increase cash flow when we're looking at production and production control in engines and airframes in the MRO process. I have a guest here with background and experience in engines and airframe MRO, and I'm going to bring him today, and we're going to have a conversation about it, and I hope you find it interesting. Let's go ahead and bring him in right now. My guest today is Thorsten. Thorsten, how are you today?
Very good. How are you, Mark?
Great. Yeah, glad to have you with me. And hey, where are you located today?
I'm in Berlin, actually, in my home office.
Awesome. Okay, great. And it's my understanding we had a little quick banner up there that you were going to be attending AeroEngines Europe, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But before we get going, could I just have you quickly tell everybody who you are and what do you do?
Yeah, sure. My name is Thorsten. I work for Ramco Systems as the sales director for Europe. And my background is pretty much MRO oriented. I worked for more than 8 years in an engine MRO. And also I have some experience in aircraft maintenance. And yeah, now I'm doing software sales and try to make the MRO world better.
Yeah, I really like that. And I'll tell you why is that I can really relate to that, Thorsten, because, I myself had operational experience, early on many years ago. I worked at a manufacturer, and then I worked at an airline, was involved in production and engineering and technical publications and digital. And so I had that foundation behind me so I could better understand what digital systems were needed, in an operation. And so can you talk to us a little bit about maybe your journey and how did you get to where you are, right now, and maybe some of the struggles that you saw over the way?
Yeah, it's already a journey of 10 years almost. I can't believe it myself. My academic background is aeronautical engineering, so I'm an engineer. And actually, when I was studying at Cranfield University, I met a guest lecturer who was at the time with CFM, and he talked a lot about engine maintenance, and he just caught me, right? So I was 100% certain I need to do something in the engine world, and then I joined MTU, had different roles there in the last years, and I also made a step besides to aircraft MRO, which was also very interesting.
Yeah, I think that gives a good, solid understanding. Hey, you said you went to Cranfield. Is that the one in the UK?
Yes, exactly. It's a very well-known aviation university, and I did my master's degree there in air transport management.
I had a couple of guests on the program here where they were from Cranfield, and so that's a great background. So you have an academic background, you have an operations background, an engineering degree, focus on airframe and engine MRO. I really like that. Hey, let's have a bit of a conversation about some of the things that you saw. So when you were involved in industry, what were some of the challenges that you saw in order to be able to efficiently execute in engine or airframe MRO?
Well, there's a lot of areas, obviously, but if I can mention a few, is probably production control or production planning. Especially in engine MRO, this process is very complex and very difficult to manage because of all the uncertainties, along the process, starting with engine removal, induction planning with different engine types. When is your engine ready for build up again? All these things. Another area which is obviously currently a big issue to the industry is supply chain, right? So where do you get the material from? In what condition do you get it? And there's a lot of constraints in the supply chain after the pandemic, also with new parts and the suppliers of the OEMs.
So, Thorsten, I know with the high cost of parts, especially engine rotables and things like that, life limited parts, I know that the production process can be quite costly. And so I think another aspect of it that you've experienced is that commercials have to be managed, with respect to that, contracts and commercials. How do we bring that into the conversation?
Absolutely, Mark. I mean, engine MRO is such a costly business. Obviously, an engine overhaul is a very large amount of money you need to spend on it, depending on the work scope. And also in this industry, there's a lot of different contracts, right? So you have fly-by-hour contracts, you have fixed price contracts, you have time and material, not to exceed pricing, all these different contracts, and they all need to be managed individually and get individual attention. And that's very difficult. And If you look into cost transparency, for example, internal cost transparency, but also to the customer, right? Providing the customer with quotes, with cost estimates, providing the transparency he needs, to keep his budget also is key. And for example, if you look into invoicing, that's also a big issue, because these complex contracts need to be translated into an invoice. That takes a lot of time and individual efforts. And having a solution in place, a software solution that can help you, reducing the efforts and reducing the time, can directly translate into improved cash flow and better performance.
Yeah, really very significant. I mean, I know that in the beginning, we go into an MRO, like an overhaul, and we have some certain set of expectations, and we build a contract, around that. And then we have provisions in there for things like non-routines or unexpected, events that we find, during the overhaul process, and we have complicated, approvals that have to occur at different price levels, according to the contract. And maybe sometimes parts go, into a pool, or they go back into the engine. And so that entire process can be quite complex. And so I know that, you've seen some of the digital tools out there be able to help optimize that. How are we finding that digital can actually improve, the process?
See, especially when you have a contract basis where the customer's in the driver's seat and he wants to make the decisions on work scope upgrades, on part approvals, etc. If you have a system interacting with the customer directly, right, and providing the right sort of information he needs to make quick decisions, such as documentation, pictures, videos, whatsoever, that can really help, shorten your TAT, making these approval processes as short as possible, and also give the customer a much better journey on his shop visit.
Yeah, I think all these things are really important, and I know that that Ramco is putting significant initiatives in place, and I know they've had some really big contracts in the last couple of years with big engine overhaul companies, and I know that you're attending the AeroEngines Europe in Dublin this week. Is that right?
That's right. I'm actually flying out to Dublin tomorrow morning.
Okay, good. And I know that you're speaking on a panel, and you'll have a couple of your business associates there. Can you tell us about their background as well, and maybe a little bit about what you'll be talking about in that panel?
Yeah, absolutely. We have two co-speakers on the session. One is an independent consultant with more than 37 years of experience in the industry. And he's actually a former CEO of SR Technics. So we are really happy to have him on the session and giving his insights on, the current industry developments. And then obviously, since we're talking about solutions, also we have our number one product expert on the session from Ramco Systems, who will provide the audience with some practical examples of how the software solution can, on a day-to-day business, really help customers in making the shop visit process more efficient and improving the profit and maximizing the profits.
Yeah, that's good. Good that you're bringing in somebody, yourself, who's had that, your airframe and engine MRO experience. The gentleman from SR Techniques, and then Saravanan from Ramco, who's coming in, and I know that he has a tremendous amount of experience, practical experience implementing projects, and so should be a really interesting conversation. Hey, maybe we could just put up on the screen the time and date of your panel. I believe that your panel there at AeroEngines Europe in Dublin is on the first day, on day one, which is September 7th, and it starts at 2:10 p.m. And so if you're out there watching today, and if you're going to be at AeroEngines Europe, you're definitely going to want to see this panel conversation, because I think you'll gain some really good insight into how people are implementing strategies and tactics in order to be able to be successful in a number of areas: supply chain management, production control, commercials, and how putting all those together can help create, operational really efficiency within the MRO. So, Thorsten, I really appreciate you coming on and giving us a quick preview, and good travels. And I'm sure that if people are there, they'll be looking forward to seeing you there at the conference. So have a good event, and I trust that it'll be something that people will profit from.
Thank you very much, Mark.
Hey, everybody, thanks for watching today on this brief preview of what's happening at AeroEngines Europe. And if you're there, be sure not to miss this panel discussion on day one, September 7th at 2:10 p.m. at the event. Thanks for joining us today. Have a great day, and we will see you on the next broadcast. Bye for now.